Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett Steak. In my previous podcast, I went over my AFC projections, but now I'm going to go over my NFC projections and then the postseason projections. So let's get started off with the NFC East with the Dallas Cowboys, my squad. I thought they had a pretty good free agency. They traded for wide receiver Brandon Cooks from Houston, who's a very underrated receiver, and he's a good number two receiver. And then they traded for all pro veteran quarterback Stephon Gilmore to pair up with Trayvon Diggs on the other side. I thought that was good. I thought they had a decent draft. Could have gone a little bit better, but I thought they had a decent draft. And the Cowboys, they finally won a playoff game, which they hadn't done since 2019. So they showed some progress last year, and they were close to making the NFC Championship game, but came up just short. And the main problem is when Dak returned from his thumb injury last year, he threw a lot of interceptions, actually tied for most in the league, which is usually not like Dak. So he has to clean that up for the Cowboys if they want to have any chance of doing anything this season. If not, then tough conversations need to be had about his future there. And one other thing that is interesting this year, though, for Dak and the offense in general, is that they have a new offense coordinator now with Kellen Moore, like I said earlier, going to LA. So they got Brian Schottenheimer now, who's not known to be a brilliant offensive mind by any means, more just like a run the ball down your throat, stuff like that. And that's what Coach McCarthy wanted. Coach McCarthy is actually going to be calling the offense plays now, so we'll kind of be interesting to see how that goes. Because last time McCarthy was calling plays for Aaron Rodgers, that did not work out very well. Now the Cowboys, defense will want to be very, very good, and they'll have to rely on that. And luckily, since they're in the NFC, I feel like they can get away with that. But it'll be interesting to see how they are in the postseason. And also, the kicking game will be a question mark for them as well. So that'll be interesting to see if they can find a good kicker or not. As Cowboys fans, you got to be crossing your finger on that one. Okay, now for the New York Giants. They traded for Ty and Darren Waller. They made some good draft choices and all that. Now, the problem with the Giants is that I know there was the surprise team last year, and Brian Dable deserved the Coach of the Year, but I just don't. I just don't trust the Giants this year, despite being the weak NFC. One, there's a roster issue. They still don't have a lot of good receivers, which in this game you need good receivers. Two, I don't trust Dale Jones to play as well as he did last year. And then three, they had a very easy schedule last year to make the playoffs. This year, it's actually a very hard schedule. So I do feel like that makes a difference. And then also they won a lot of close one possession games last year, which again, that's kind of luck year to year. That's not something that's consistent. So I feel like that will kind of die down, and that's why the Giants, will be probably on the outside looking into the playoffs this year. Philadelphia Eagles. I like that they brought in running back DeAndre Swift from the Lions and Rashad Penny from the Seahawks, and they signed some linebackers and secondary players and all that, since a lot of them left for different spots in the NFL. They had once again had a very excellent draft, and those youngsters are going to make an impact, in my opinion. And the only question mark for the Eagles this year is, okay, they have a new offense coordinator, and Sean Desai, and then they have a new Brian Johnson, then they have a new defense coordinator, and Sean Desai. So the question is, okay, can the new offense coordinator call plays good? If for some reason Kent Sirianni will take over, since he's also an offensive guy, so the offense I don't worry about too much, but for the defense, can Sean Desai call good plays? That'll be kind of an interesting factor there. And we'll see what they can do this year, because with all the talent they have, it wouldn't surprise me if they get the number one seed again. Washington Commanders, they didn't really do a lot in free agency in the draft this year, in my opinion. Washington has been searching for their franchise quarterback for over a decade now, and now they're going to give former fifth-round pick from last year, Sam Howell, North Carolina quarterback, a chance to see if he can be the guy or not. What does help is that they got offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs. Since he helped Mahomes, I feel like maybe he can help elevate Al. We'll see how much it was him and how much was Andy Reid. Sam Howell definitely has good running backs and weapons to work with. That won't be a problem there, although the Titans spot's a little bit weak. But they have very good receivers and good running backs. Their defense is also good, and their star pass rusher Chase Young will be back, which will help the pass rush. They do have a little bit of secondary issues, but I feel like not ones where they can't overcome it. But there are two problems for the Commanders, though. One, is despite being in a weak NFC, they happen to be in the toughest division in the NFC. And then two, I doubt Sam Howell is the answer at quarterback. Maybe I could be wrong there, but I doubt it. And it could be one of the situations where Ron Rivera's days as a coach there might be numbered. Okay, now for the NFC North, Chicago Bears. Now, they made a lot of moves this offseason and for agency, not only in free agency, but also the draft, because they had a lot of draft picks as well. So they did a big roster overall here. And they got good running backs. They got a better offensive line than they did a couple years ago, and they traded for DJ Moore to have a better weapon now for Justin Fields. So now for Justin Fields, and also the defense, I don't think will be like top 10 or anything, but they definitely be better than last year because they were that bad last year. And like I said, they made all those moves. So now for Justin Fields, this is a prove-it year. You can't be going 3-14 with this type of roster. Again, barring health, you can't be doing that. You got to help lead your team here to at least be like in the wild card mix, by weeks 16 and 17 and all that. Because if you're not, then the Bears front office who didn't draft you and all that, and the head coach who didn't draft you and all that will be looking to move you after this year. And a lot of people are on the Justin Fields hype train. I got seed to believe it. Next, you got the Detroit Lions. They made a lot of moves as well. Some signed running back David Montgomery, afraid to see. Getting a bunch of defensive players like quarterback Cameron Sutton, Mosley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, stuff like that. They had an interesting draft, drafting running back Jamar Gibbs from Alabama early, but he's supposed to be a big factor. And they had a bunch of good mid-round picks as well, so I like their draft over for the most part. But everyone, loves the Lions coming into the season because of how they ended last season. And I'm on both sides of the fence. I can see them carrying that momentum and being really good, but it wouldn't shock me if they go back to being typical Lions. Because I still have questions about head coach Dan Campbell, in my opinion. But what I don't have questions about is their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, called really good plays last year. And Goff looked like a completely different quarterback last year, and the offense completely was changed last year for the better. And I feel like this would be an explosive offense again. Now, the defense was hit and miss last season, but again, they made a lot of moves on defense to address their needs. So I feel like the Lions have all the ingredients they need to be better last year. So if you're a Lions fan, you should just be cautiously optimistic this season. Green Bay Packers. They had a very good draft, but you can talk about, okay, they have good running back duo, wide receivers, they're good, and the good tight end, good defense. But it's like this whole season comes down to how good is Jordan Love. If he can produce Aaron Rodgers stats, not from Aaron Rodgers MVP days, but just from Aaron Rodgers stats from last year, then yeah, the Packers could be in the wild card mix or playoff mix, whatever. But I'm one of those guys that I'm kind of wait and see for Jordan Love. In all honesty, I'm not a believer in him because if he was good, then he would have moved off Aaron Rodgers long ago. So I feel like, the Packers will probably be on the outside looking in. Minnesota Vikings, they let go Dalvin Cook, so now Madison's going to be the new running back with Myles Gaskin as the backup. They brought in Brian Flores to be the defense coordinator, which was a very excellent hire in that regard. But the problem is they still don't have a lot of good players on the defense, so I'm not sure how that's going to go. And then on offense, their offensive line's a question mark. So again, it's like your run game may not be as good, offensive line question mark, defense question mark. So it's like I feel like, and plus the Vikings in the regular season went undefeated in one possession games. That will definitely not happen again. So I do feel like the Vikings will still be decent. I don't feel like they're going to fall off a cliff or anything. But as far as, winning the division with ease last year, I just don't see that happening. Now for the NFC South, you get the Atlanta Falcons. They are saying, okay, Desmond Ridder, former third-round pick from Cincinnati. Okay, this is your chance to see if you're going to be our franchise guy or not. They got good weapons around him running. They drafted Bijan Robinson high with the go Tyler Algier. So you have a good running back duo. You have good receivers. You have a good tight end. The offense line is decent, And then the defense, while there's some question marks there, they've tried to make moves to improve the defense overall. So they should be at least a little bit better. So kind of like the Packers. This all comes down to can Desmond Ridder ball. If he can ball, then the Falcons have a chance to sneak in as a wild card. But if he can't ball, then you're going to have another losing season for the Falcons. It all comes down to that. Next, we got the Carolina Panthers. They drafted Bryce Young with the first overall pick. Made some good moves in free agency and in the draft as well. Carolina has not had their franchise guy since Cam Newton left. So Bryce Young, I feel like he has a chance to be the guy, but of course his weight and size concern me and all that. And the defense is really good, so I don't have concerns about that. I like the head coaching hire of Rick Wright. Now the only problem though, Frank Wright. Now the only problem with the Panthers is their offensive line is garbage. For the most part, it's garbage. So Bryce Young's going to get hit a lot. I feel like the Panthers won't be able to overcome that. Now, if you tell me that the Panthers have a top 10 offensive line, then the Panthers can win the play. Like not win the playoffs, but like win a division, make the playoffs, because they got good pieces all around. But I just feel like that's going to be a problem for them, their offensive line, and that may prevent them from making the playoffs. New Orleans Saints, they brought in Derek Carr, they brought in running back Jamal Williams, they brought in a bunch of good players on offensive, defensive, fantasy, and in the draft as well. The Saints have been struggling since Brees has retired, and things didn't go well in year one without Sean Payton. So I like that they brought in, Derek Carr to kind of have a nice veteran presence there. And as long as Carr, obviously he won't be like Brees and won't, be a top 10 quarterback, but as long as he can play like he did the year where he led Vegas to the playoffs, and that's all the Saints need, especially in a certain easy division. I would be shocked if the Saints have a losing record again this year. I'll just say that. I'll be shocked. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're going to definitely be in contention to have the number one overall pick. I know they have a good receiving core, good O-line, although their center's hurt again. And I know they have a pretty decent defense. But with Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, that's a big drop off from Tom Brady. And with Tom Brady last year, you're 8-9 to begin with. So I just feel like, the Buccaneers are not going to go anywhere this year. Arizona Cardinals, they're going to have a really good chance to have the number one pick. Kyle Murray's going to be out for the first however many weeks, but I feel like once they realize how bad this team is, they're probably just going to keep him out all year. The Cardinals have been training players and all that. They just really don't have a good roster. I feel bad for new head coach Gannon, the defense coordinator from Philly that came over there. Because this is clearly taking for Caleb Williams at this point. LA Rams. Now, they had Kupp injured last year, Stafford injured last year, Donald injured last year. So if you're the Rams, you're thinking, okay, our three top players, although Kupp is questionable for the first week or two with the nagging hamstring injury, but get our star players back and all that. We had a very good draft. Okay, now we should be good. It's like, it's still it's one of the younger teams in the league, so I feel like while Sean McVay won't like to admit it, and some LA fans won't like to admit it, I still feel like they're going to be in a rebuild here in all honesty. Whether Kupp, Stafford, and Donald stay healthy or not. They'll be an interesting watch at the least if they all stay healthy. I will say that. Okay, San Francisco 49ers. So they booted out Trey Lance. Brock Purdy did so well that they have him be the full-time starter for this year. They did lose some key players on defense. So it'll be interesting to see how they look with a new defense coordinator and all that. The 49ers, I feel like it would have been a closer game than the NFC Championship game if they didn't have the quarterback injuries that they had. My only worry for the 49ers this year, is, okay, is Brock Purdy going to produce like he did last year, or will teams have studied him, figured him out and all that, and will he just be average? Now, luckily with the 49ers loaded roster and all that, you don't have to be spectacular, but that'll be kind of interesting to see how that works. And then last but not least, Seattle Seahawks. I like the draft they had. Once again, they had a very good draft. Geno Smith was surprise of the year last year. Now, I feel like he'll still be fine, but I feel like he won't be as great as last year. But luckily, he has a good receiving core and a good running back duo and a good offensive line. The defense was a little bit concerned last year, and I feel like that didn't get, especially the interior of the defense, I feel like that didn't get addressed that much. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how Seattle is this year. Okay, so now to go over my NFC projections. I have, in the NFC East, I have Philly winning the division once again, which is rare, by the way, because there hasn't been back-to-back division winners in the NFC East forever. So, but I have Philly winning the division once again at 13-4. I have Dallas right behind them, 12-5. I have the Giants at 8-9, and then I have Washington at 3-14. And then the NFC North, I have Detroit. That's right, I have Detroit winning at 10-7. Then I have Minnesota next at 9-8. And I have Chicago and Green Bay tied for third at 7-10. And at NFC South, I got New Orleans winning at 11-6. Then I have Atlanta at second, 7-10. Carolina third, 6-11. And Tampa Bay fourth, 3-14. And then the NFC West, I got San Francisco 1, 14-3. Seattle second, 10-7. Rams third, 6-11. And Arizona fourth, 1-16. Although it would not surprise me if they went 0-17. So now for the whole playoff predictions. So in the AFC, in the wild card round, you would have 2-seed Bengals against the 7-seed Jets. That'd be a very interesting game, very entertaining game. I feel like that'd be definitely a defensive battle, low-scoring game. But I do feel like in the end, Cincinnati will win there. And again, I just, for one, don't trust Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs because he hasn't produced in the playoffs the past couple of years. And then 2, the Jets O-line is a little concerning. Okay, next you get 6 Miami versus 3 Kansas City. Now that's going to be a shootout, fun, entertaining matchup there. Tyreek Hill against his former team and all that. But again, it's just hard to go against any of the Chiefs in the playoffs. So I'm going to go Chiefs to barely win that one. And then that would be kind of like the Bills and Chiefs game from a couple years ago where that was a shootout, went to overtime. Like, it could be that type of game. And then next you got the Chargers versus the Bills. That would be a very, very entertaining game there. But it all comes down to I don't trust Brandon Staley, the Chargers coach in the playoffs. So I would take Bills there at home. And so then you got a Bills versus Jaguars divisional round matchup. Again, that'd be a very entertaining matchup there. But again, I really like the Jaguars and what Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence cooking up there. So I would take Jacksonville to get the win there, which means more problems for the Bills. And then the second round, you get a Chiefs-Bengals rematch, except this is not in the conference championship. It's in the divisional round, and the Bengals would have the home field advantage this time. But despite the Bengals having home field advantage, I will still take the Chiefs to win that one. So then you get a Chiefs-Jaguars AFC championship game, and I would take the Chiefs to get the win there to once again win the AFC, go to the Super Bowl. Then in the NFC, you get a Vikings-Eagles first-round matchup. Eagles win easily. Then you get a Seahawks-Saints matchup, and I'd actually take Seattle there for the upset. And then the Cowboys-Lions matchup, I would take the Cowboys there for the upset. So a little more upsets there. So in the division round, you get the Seahawks versus 49ers. I would take 49ers there. And then Cowboys versus Eagles would be another close game. But once again, Cowboys have another heartbreak, and Eagles win that one. So you get an Eagles-49ers rematch in the NFC Championship game, except this time it'll be in San Francisco, and I would have the 49ers winning that. So then you get a 49ers-Chiefs Super Bowl matchup from back in 2019. And in this case, it's hard to pick repeat as champions, but I like the Chiefs to repeat. Now, here's the thing. If the Chiefs end up not winning the Super Bowl this year, then I do think it's either going to be, the 49ers winning the Super Bowl here, or I do think it's going to be the Bengals. So those, and then the Eagles fourth. So those can be my top 4 choices. I guess the top 4 choices for a lot of people. But again, I like the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl matchup with the Chiefs winning it all. So those are my predictions. We'll see how I do this year. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel, tell me about me. Later on in the week, I'm going to go over my Week 1 NFL predictions and my Week 2 college football predictions. So thank you very much. You have a wonderful day.